Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. How's your evening going, eh? Wow, I'm back. I'm back again. This is not a drill. Tottenham Hotspur are spending big money on ready-made players. Yay! My word. This has been a whirlwind of a day, this one. We're all kind of getting ready for Kudus to come in, and lo and behold, we're going to get a bit of a double whammy. So if you're not aware by now, Spurs are set to pay the £60 million release clause to Nottingham Forest to ensure that Morgan Gibbs-White makes his move to North London. It's been a name that we've spoken about in the past. It's certainly been a long-time Spurs target. 25-year-old England international. But just today, everything accelerated very, very quickly. As soon as Spurs kind of made that decision to pay the release clause. How many times have we said, pay the release clause? And they have. Or they're about to anyway. He's now expected to do his medical at Spurs in the next 24 hours. Will massively boost Thomas Frank's squad ahead of this season, obviously, that brings with it Champions League football. Technically, this week alone, it will mean that Spurs will have spent about 120 million, because obviously Kudus as well is £55 million. £5 million, it seems like tiny, doesn't it, next to those for Kota Takai as well from Kawasaki Frontale. If you want to go even further and say this month, I suppose, you could chuck in the 30 million or so for Matisse Tell from Bayern Munich as well. So that would take you up to £150 million. What is this? What is this guy? I almost sang the Bohemian Rhapsody at the start. Is this just fantasy and all of that? But I thought that would be a bit too weird. It's just mad, isn't it? This is what we've called for. Ready-made players as well. The amount of time Spurs last season struggled to create and give service to Dominic Solanke, and suddenly they're bringing in someone in Kudus who can dribble and create. Like I said in the last video, highest amount of completed dribbles across the last two seasons at West Ham over any player in the Premier League. And now you've got Gibbs-White, who I really like. For me, this is the one. This is the exciting transfer for me. With no disrespect to Kudus, and he could end up being absolutely fantastic. And I really hope he does. But Gibbs-White for me is someone I just kind of obviously liked him at Wolves, and he's just grown on me with every passing season. I just think he's going to be terrific. And look, it's a lot of money. And I've previously reported, haven't I, that there is this expectation in and around the club that, there's new investment coming in from somewhere, potentially from ENIC. And I'm sure, these kind of moves suggest that appears to be on the way, because Spurs don't lay down this sort of money and also go for a release clause as well. They're a club that always try and negotiate that down. They clearly, obviously, found in this scenario that was going to be the base that they were going to have to work for, and they've been able to go in and do it. We'll see what exactly that investment entails. Whether it is potentially ENIC pumping a substantial amount into the club. Commercial side as well have been very successful for Spurs. That's been one of the most successful parts of Spurs in recent years, is the commercial side of the business as well. So let's see what they can bring in as well. But yeah, it certainly appears that things are afoot. Not underfoot. They're afoot. They're not underfoot. So keep an eye on all of that. I think we'll have a bit more about all of that in the near future to go into in proper detail. We shall see. Just back to Gibbs-White. I just think he'll be terrific. Look, I must admit, until he has that shirt in his hands, I'm not going to get overexcited and start running around the room celebrating, because I don't know if it's just the pessimist inside of me, but you just still fear, don't you, that someone else will just come in at last minute and also pay the release clause. Man City wanted him early, or certainly looked at him earlier in the summer, and for one reason or another it didn't happen. But, Tottenham they're an attractive proposition now. They've got this Champions League football because of that. They've got that to offer players, and that is, just the three players I've just listed off coming in now of Kudus and Gibbs-White, and also Tell as well. He's going to get better and better under Thomas Frank, and just adjusting further to the English game. So, what I really like about the fact is I said Spurs, he's been a long-term target for. Actually, he's also been a long-term target for Thomas Frank as well. Because Thomas Frank, if you're not aware, the number 10 within his system is a very creative but also hard-working, constantly running player. It was a Damsgaard, wasn't it, at Brentford? And from what we understand, Thomas Frank has wanted Gibbs-White for a while at Brentford. I think he wanted him way back in his Wolves days as well. And obviously Gibbs-White is, again, another versatile player. He can play in that number 10 role. He can play in a deeper central midfield role. He can play, I think it's on the right wing as well. He is a very talented, progressive, dynamic player. He fits that role perfectly. He's also, if you want to add into that, Justin Cochrane has worked with him in the England setup as well. So there's another little kind of link up there too. And I just think he's going to add so much to this team. It's going to, I know people will say, like, oh, but why do you need a player in that position when other areas are more important? No, when you get a player like that, get him in. Just absolutely get him in. I said that they were looking for a central midfielder. Certainly, probably not the one I expected, to be fair, even despite that previous history. But I think they've just sensed an opportunity and they've gone for it. And thank you, Lord. They have gone for it. I still expect them to go for a number 6 as well, a defensive midfielder. And then it's about kind of reacting as well to who else leaves the club and replacing or not in certain circumstances. But yeah, Gibbs-White is, obviously we saw what Forest did under Nuno Espirito Santo last season, had a terrific season, were flirting around the top 3 for long periods and obviously slightly fell out of that at the end, but he was one of their standout players, Captain the side on a lot of occasions as well. That's another thing he will bring to Tottenham. He is a leader. He's got that about him. But he also had 7 goals, 10 assists in 34 Premier League games. So he's going to kind of bring that to Spurs. And don't forget, in Nuno team, they're not the most free-flowing, creative, scoring lots of goals kind of team, with no disrespect. But that is not, the key element. But in a Tottenham side where he'll get even more of the ball and be looking to create, he could do wonderful things. It's I'm still trying to get my head around the fact they paid a release clause. That is just remarkable. We've seen them do it maybe with lower sums, but not £60 million. 60 million smackaroonies. Like I said, I'm not going to celebrate and go mad until it is all done and dusted and no one else has stolen in there and tried to take him away. And for those asking, no, it doesn't help homegrown, club trained, any of that at all. Yes, he will be an association trained player, but Spurs have loads of those. It doesn't really matter. In essence, with his arrival, Spurs, I think it will be 32 players they need to fit into 22 spots in their European Champions League squad after Gibbs-White and Kudus come through the door. There needs to be a huge clear out. They really, really need to get them out of that door. There's a lot of players that need their decisions made on their future. And this is what, I guess, this period is about, with Thomas Frank looking over all the squad. It's a huge bloated squad. Mr. Creosote, as people reminded me from Monty Python's Meaning of Life, wasn't it? And he needs to look at a lot of these players now and decide, are they heading out on loan, are they sticking around, or should they just move on for their own good and also for the squad as well. Another little bit after I did the video last night, I was saying about international players were set to come back and kind of be on the pitches towards the end of the week. They came back for the gym work yesterday. We got all of that in, there was a video the club put out pretty much as I'd finished recording the video, which was incredibly helpful. Where we saw exactly kind of who's back and what they're up to and who's not back yet. Look, there may well be another video that comes out while I'm doing this of pitch work and things that they're doing because they would have been back on the grass today. But quick takeaways from that. This is not going to be a long video, very much so. Don't worry about that. Christian Romero's back. We wondered, will he definitely come back on time? And I don't know why people doubted him, because there he was. He was back. He came in the building with Rodrigo Bentancur. You could see him on stationary bikes with Destiny Udogie and various, going through all of his blood work, sports science testing that they have to do on them and everything. Who else do we have back in the building? Brennan Johnson, Mickey van der Ven. Richarlison, Pat Matasar, Kevin Danso, Yves Bissouma, Ben Davis, and now in his 11th year at Spurs, which is mad. Manor Solomon was back as well. One notable absence, Son Heung-min. Sonny is not back yet. From what I understand, he's got some pre-agreed family commitments that he has to attend, and he will be back at the training ground by the end of the week. I put in my piece earlier, by the end of the week, and for some reason the aggregators said at the end of the week. By the end of the week. He might be back sooner than the very end of the week. And then we're just waiting for Archie Gray, Matisse Tell, Wilson Odobert and Mikey Moore to come back. And I think they're just going to be a couple of days on. Some of them may even well be coming in the doors as we speak. Not right now, but I think they had 2 or 3 days more than the rest of the internationals coming back, I think. Who else? Brian Hill looks like he's headed off to Spain to get kind of specialist rehab, I think, after his knee surgery and everything. Certainly on his Instagram, he seems to have him working with various physios over there. So he presumably has been given permission to do that. He hasn't just said, I'm off, lads. But we would think that Brian Hill will probably not be part of this Spurs squad going forward, especially when you've got Kudus coming in as well. It's a packed bunch of wingers, and he expects himself, he said it before, to move on this summer. 12 months left on his contract, so he'll be heading off. What else did we see in that little video? Richarlison and Pat Matasar, bromance continues at pace. Lots of funny little moments between the two of them. We saw them a lot last season, have little squabbles on the bench and things like that. And that seems to be continuing. They seem to be very high spirits and enjoying seeing each other. A reunion back at Hotspur Way. What else do we have? Radu Dragic being an absolute, just ridiculously strong man. He was doing lots of pull-ups that looked like they were of no real bother to him whatsoever before doing lots of weights work with the 24s, putting them up in the air. He was properly, looked like he was lifting a feather. He is a very strong man. So he'll be working, obviously, coming back from his cruciate ligament. Talking of injuries, comebacks. James Maddison back on the grass, working with the ball. That's exactly what we want to see. Put that out on his Instagram. I think he put the caption, back on the grass, with lots of heart eye emojis. So that's good stuff. Hopefully he can be back involved in the weeks ahead to get ready for the pre-season, for the new season. And because obviously, Gibbs-White coming in, that's a big old competition for James Maddison being in that team as well. They're playing similar positions, either in a deeper role or as a number 10. Probably maybe say that potentially Gibbs-White is more of an energetic, mobile midfielder. Certainly Maddison can press, but it's maybe, I'd love to see the stats. I could be completely wrong, but you would imagine that Gibbs-White covers more distance on the pitch. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of perception, I guess, of looking from the outside. But yeah, certainly for Maddison and Kudus, that is upping the kind of real quality and depth now. And this is what we've been crying out for. It's what we have needed for so long at Spurs. They are now going to go into a season where they're going to have a Premier League game and a Champions League game 3 days later or before. You're going to have, hopefully, a long run in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup as well. So they are going to need quality. So I have never had any issue with kind of bringing in a top-class player that improves your starting 11. Regardless of what other players you've got in those positions, crack on, go for it. It improves the depth. It'd be interesting to see how they respond to that, the likes of Kudus and Maddison, because he's a big challenge for them coming in. He does fit the system very well. What else was I going to say? Maddison and Brendan Johnson got their Europa League tattoos. If that's of any interest to anyone, notice that on their legs. Under 18s. Joe Staunton has been placed in interim charge of the under 18s because Stuart Lewis obviously has taken on this new kind of development role with the first team of looking after the young players and their kind of development within the first team. He is currently, Joe Staunton, head of coaching in the academy, and also previously has been in charge of the under 16s. He's been at the club for, I think, about 15 years or so. Obviously, he's got real experience here. Bradley Allen and Chris Riley, the two under-18s assistant coaches, are going to help him out. And it's just interesting to see whether he gets the job full-time or not. So that's that. I think that's it. It was only meant to be like a little 15-minute update, really, this one, before I head off to five-a-side. That's my evening. Hopefully I won't get there and something else mad has happened. I'm just double-checking that nothing else has come out before I do this. This is the danger of transfer window updates. Lots of people saying, are we back? Let's see first. Let's see. Let's get it over the line. If they can do this kind of 120 million, 115 million pound double deal for Kudus and Gibbs-White, that is a great start. Suddenly, early in pre-season as well. That's all we asked. Get him in there. Get him into the the way of the Thomas Frank. The way of the Thomas Frank? That's a dreadful way of putting it. The Thomas Frank way would be a better way of doing it. We're going to get to see them on the tour, get to see them in pre-season friendlies. We've just been accepted for Reading, so I'm really looking forward to that next week. Obviously, Thomas Frank's press conference before it. It's just so exciting. It's so exciting. Kind of gone from Europa League winning, like, yay, Postecoglou getting sacked, like, oh, what have you done now? And now they've actually... Thomas Frank, as I've said before, regardless of what happened and Postecoglou going, Thomas Frank for me was an interesting coach. He's someone that I really wish well, and I hope he does well, and he's got some interesting ideas, and I hope we get to see this. But the key was always, was he going to get backed? If they do this so early in the window, then bang, that is a big old way of backing him. And look, let's talk about Postecoglou. He may be thinking like, what? He gave me literally Solanke and lots of children in the last window, albeit very talented children in the summer. And Thomas Frank, like I said, I think I said this before, they had to back this decision. They had to make it work. And if they are putting this money into it to make it happen, then it can only be a good thing for Tottenham if they're actually making concerted effort to make these statements about wanting to win the Premier League and wanting to win the Champions League a reality. You've got to do these things. You've got to compete with the big boys. You've got to sign the kind of players that improve your squad and your first 11 as well. And, like I say, creativity just took a big old jump. Dominic Solanke must be going, kind of thing. This is great. I'm going to get a ball in that box thing, in that 6-yard area. That'd be great. Dominic Solanke 30-goal season, please. That'd be fantastic. But look, let's get them both over the line first. They're both not there yet, or they haven't been officially announced as of now. Right, going to head off. I kind of knew I had to do this tonight as soon as I saw all the stuff and kind of digging around and finding out bits and pieces. Because tomorrow I'm at the cinema, at the IMAX, seeing Superman, which I cannot wait for. For those wondering, my next day off is Saturday. So who knows, maybe that will be the day that if they can get it done, they announce Gibbs-White. That'd be fantastic. But yes, some people think I'm on holiday. I'm not on holiday, I'm working. Look at my Twitter account and all of that. There's constantly articles going out. I just have 2 days off a week like most human beings. That is all. So right, time to head off. But fingers crossed, everything gets through. And we can kind of really start excitedly looking forward to how Spurs are going to be playing next season, who's going to be in that 11, how it's all going to balance out, what's the blend going to be like, and what's the squad depth going to be like. And like I said, a few departures to come, but hopefully a couple more incomings, but all while keeping within those rules and regulations. Right, goodbye as always. Stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves. I shall catch you later. Goodbye.